Hey guys, in this video we're going to be looking at how we can scrape jobs from LinkedIn. So just a quick overview first. We'll be going through how the LinkedIn jobs page is structured and how we can actually get the job data that we need from the page, because there's multiple ways of doing it, so we'll be looking at the easiest way we can do that. Then we'll be looking at setting up our spider and the spider code, and setting up a proxy so we can bypass the LinkedIn anti-bots. And then once we've that set up, we'll be looking at running our spider and getting the data directly from the LinkedIn jobs page. Okay, so let's get started. So the page we want to look at first is linkedin.com/jobs/search. So you can remove anything there. Anyone can go to this page. I'm in incognito just to show that I'm not logged in, and my browser is working fine. So I can put in a job here, put in Python, and leave the country defaults to United States anyway. So we can now see there's 600,000 Python jobs in the United States. Now you might be saying, okay, how do we go about getting this job data? Now, if you just look at the page, you might think, okay, is there pagination? Can we click through if we scroll down? No, there's no pagination. It looks like there's a kind of a lazy loading of, as you get to the bottom of the page, it loads in another set of results every time. So that's a bit of an issue, because then straight away you might be saying, okay, do we need to JavaScript render this page, and then do we need to have the browser scroll to the bottom automatically, and how do I code that? And straight away you can be thinking that this is quite complicated, and sometimes you do have to do that, but in this case we don't. So what we can do is just, first off, if you're ever in this scenario, the first thing you want to do is open up your developer tools, go to the network tab, and then if we just scroll down, we should see, I'm on the wrong tab here. I should see there's a bunch of different things coming in here. So every time I scroll down, there's new data that loads in here. And from looking at this earlier, I know that if I filter by jobs guest, because we're on the jobs page and we're a guest, they have jobs guest as part of their URL. So I can show you here. See, you've got LinkedIn /jobs guest. So that is a call that is being made to LinkedIn to load in another 25 jobs every time. If you look at the rest of the URL, we've got see more job postings, the search, the keyword, the location, a geo ID, and some kind of tracker here so that they know where this call is coming from, and then the start, which refers to the start post that you're going from. So if you're going from the very first one on the page, it'll be 0 to 24, and then it'll be going from 25 to 50, and so on and so on. So you can see the last call was 150. And then if we look at the actual response, our preview, when it's actually rendered, the response is rendered, we can see we're getting back, this is the very last one here, Python developer, Brooksource, which is the company that posted the job, and then where the job is actually located in Atlanta, Georgia, and the salary range, and you can see that they're actively hiring, and it was posted 1 day ago. So for this tutorial, this is the stuff we're going to be looking to grab, because this is kind of the important information. Obviously, we could have a more in-depth thing that would then click into the actual job link itself and scrape the full profile. But for this tutorial, we're just going to keep things simple and just get the job name, the company name, and the location, and how many days ago it was posted, and the links to the full job description. So then if we want to use that data later, we can do further scraping of the actual links to the full job description, not just the overview on the side. So we can see again, as I was saying, that we've keywords, location, GeoID, and start, and the tracking code that they're looking at. And here we can see that you've got your class names and everything we need to actually select the data from the response. Okay, so now that you guys know that you don't have to scrape it directly from this page, you can make an API call which hits this endpoint and asks for the data, and the data is sent back to you. It means that we don't have to have a very complicated JavaScript rendered scraper set up. We can just directly, using Scrapy, ask for this URL with the keywords that we need, and the data that we need will come back. Okay, let's go and get our spider set up and then get our proxy set up so we have no issues when we actually make those API calls. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using this basic Scrapy project that we have available for anyone to download. I'll have the link in the description of the video. So what we're going to do now is basically just clone this. So we can just copy the URL here, and we're going to follow the cheat sheet steps here and just install the Python virtual environment, activate it, and install Scrapy. So I have an empty folder here. You can create that wherever you need to. And I'm just going to open up a new terminal. This is using VS Code. In case you don't have VS Code, you can use any other code editor you like, but I find VS Code very easy to use. So we're just doing git clone and pasting in the URL. As we can see, we've now got our project downloaded. Perfect. Let's set up our virtual environment. The virtual environment is there just so the stuff that we install doesn't end up conflicting with any other Python things you have installed. It just makes a local folder here where things are installed into. So now that that's activated, we can install Scrapy, and then we can just do a Scrapy list to check that Scrapy is installed correctly. Okay, so let's try Scrapy list. No active project because we're not in the right folder. Let's just go down a folder into our basic project and try that again. And we have quotes, which if you go into your spiders folder, you can see there's a quote spider there. So Scrapy is set up and working, and that's all fine. The next part is going to be installing the proxy. So what we're going to do with the proxy is we're going to send the URLs that we need to our proxy provider, and then our proxy provider is going to basically ensure that those URLs get to LinkedIn and that LinkedIn doesn't block the URLs from being scraped. Because sometimes if LinkedIn sees a lot of requests from the same IP address, from the same computer, it'll say, we don't want you taking our data, and it'll block all the requests then coming from your computer or your IP address. So by using a proxy provider like the one we'll be using, they just make sure that all the requests are not blocked by the website you're trying to scrape. So we're just going to look at installing that now. You can get a free account with ScrapeOps, scrapeops.io. Again, I'll have the link to this in the description. So once you have your ScrapeOps account set up, you've registered, they will give you an API key, and then when you have that API key, you can install the proxy SDK using pip install in your terminal. So the line for that is just pip install scrapeops-scrapy-proxy-SDK. Okay, so we have the proxy SDK set up. The next thing we need to do is just set up our settings. We're just going to paste in the settings where we have our API key and a few other small bits. The other thing we want to turn off here is the obey robots. We want to make sure that's false. So the pieces we just need to copy and paste in are going to be the API key, like I mentioned, if we have the proxy enabled, and then the downloader middlewares, which just make sure that the proxy SDK is enabled. So let's just copy and paste it in here. And then I'm going to get my API key from my ScrapeOps account. And I'm just going to paste it in. And that's everything we need to make sure that the proxy is enabled. Next, we're going to look at how we can actually start writing the spider to request all the jobs and then parse the job data into a file. Okay, so we can just go ahead and delete everything. I'll have an article linked in the description where you can go to the article and copy and paste all the bits of code and read more in depth about how we're putting this spider together. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to be copying and pasting those bits of code in. Or if you'd like, you can just go directly to our GitHub account and download the fully completed project and just run that as well. Okay, so the first thing we need obviously is just the class name, which for us is going to be LinkedIn job spider, and the name of the spider itself, which is just going to be LinkedIn jobs. The next thing is going to be the start request function. When we looked at the payload for the request that is sent to LinkedIn to ask for the jobs in the first place, they have this start number here. So I've gone ahead and just created this thing here called first job on page. So for the very first request, the first job on the page is going to be equal to 0. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have the API URL, which we can just grab right now from here. And we're going to just add that in here. So API URL is equal to this full guy here. So all going well, that should work. We can later, if we need to, we can remove some bits that we don't need. Like we might not need the tracking part or the GeoID part. But for now, let's just leave that. And we just took off the number at the end. And we're going to get that full URL plus our own number, which is 0, because we want the very first result for the very first call. And that's our first URL that we're going to make a Scrapy request to. So Scrapy is going to ask LinkedIn, hey LinkedIn, can I have all the data from this URL where the first job on the page is the first job on the page. And we're going to keep track of which page we're on by keeping track of this first job on page variable. So at the very first time it's 0, but then we're going to check how many jobs come back, and then we're going to increment the first job on page variable by the amount of jobs that come back. So you'll see in a second, it sounds more complicated than it is, but it's very simple. Okay, so the only thing missing now is we need this parse jobs function. So this callback here means that when the request comes back, what do we want to happen? So when the request comes back, we want to take the data from LinkedIn and we want to pull out all the relevant stuff that we want to collect. And then we want to save that into the file. So let's create this parse jobs function now. And I'll just add that here. So parse jobs, the response comes back, all the response data. We have the first job on page data here. So it's in the meta, as you can see here. So we're pulling it out, that makes sense, and we're putting it into first job on page variable here again. So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to say, okay, how can we get all the jobs that are on the page? So if we grab, for example, this URL, which is the URL that we're going to be scraping, and we open it up, we should see this is what LinkedIn is going to give us back. So if we then inspect that, we can see a load of LI tags on the page. So LI tags are just list items, and that if we see I'm hovered over that list item and it's selected on the page, the first job. So if I then open this, I can see, okay, there's all the relevant data. So we've got an A tag there with the Python developer, and it's got the full URL to the full job details. If I go underneath it, it's got stuff like the title, the company that posted the job, etc., etc., etc. So that's all the stuff we need to extract the data from the page. So we can go back, and what I've done is using the response that comes back, I'm doing .css, and this function then takes in the selector, and this selector is the li tag, so it's going to put all those li tags into a jobs variable. So we're saying anytime you see li tags, and all the data inside one of these li tags is going to be a job. So if you take all the li's, that should equal to all the jobs on the page that are returned. And as you can see, we've loads of li's, so these are all the jobs that are returned. So that makes sense. So each time I just scroll, that's one, that's the second one, that's the third one, etc. So those li's are the jobs. Perfect. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to just loop through each of the jobs, and we're going to extract the data that we want. So for that, I've just done a simple loop. So for each of the jobs that are in the jobs variable, we want to then extract the data, and we want to yield a job item. Now we need to just set a job item. So we can just do that here and just have job item. So that will just create the job item, and then we're going to say, okay, the job title is going to be equal to job, which is already this little li block of HTML. I'm using the Scrapy.css function. We're going to say, give us back anything inside a h3 tag that is text. So if we go back to one of our guys here, as we can see, that is h3 there. So that's what we're asking for. Give us back anything inside this h3 tag. So there's the opening, there's the closing of the tag, and here is the text inside it. So you could also, if you wanted, use the class name base search card title, but I saw that there's only one h3 in this li anyway, so it works. That's where I get the job title, and then it's the same going down for the job detail, URL, if you want the full expanded version of the job, which we could use later on if we wanted to, the date the job is listed, and then the company name, the company link, and the company location. So it's all using the same formatting of get the job, use the .css function, and then using either the tag or the class name. Here we're using the class name, and here we're asking for a link. So instead of the double dot text, we're using double dot attribute href, and the href will give you back the link. And then at the end of it, you just need to use a .get to make sure it gets returned to you. And I've just added in a default in case we're not able to actually extract it, or if for some reason someone in LinkedIn one day goes ahead and changes one of those, your spider won't break entirely. It'll scrape the rest of the data, but it will just fill in not found as the default, which makes sense. And then at the very end, we've just got this .strip, which just removes any white space from the ends of the text that is returned. So the next thing to do would be to load in the next set of results. So to do that, let's first get the number of jobs returned on the page, because we said that was going to be useful. So we can just add in up here the number of jobs returned, and that's quite easy because we already have all the jobs in this jobs variable. So we're just asking for the length using the len function in Python, and then that gives us back this number of num jobs returned. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is use this number of jobs returned, and we're just going to say, okay, so if the number of jobs returned is greater than 0, then the next page we want to look for is basically 0 plus 25. So if we're starting with 25, we add on another 25, and that will be the start of the next page, if that makes sense. So the first job on the page will then be 25. And then we add this number again to the end of our API URL, which corresponds to the URL we pulled out from our network tab here, this guy. So that corresponds to this URL. Okay, so now when I actually tested this, and you'll see it in a second, the number of jobs returned is pretty much always going to be greater than 0. So what does end up happening, and we can just test this, is if I go in and I put a crazy big number here, LinkedIn just gives us back a 400 error. So it just says, no, sorry, this URL isn't valid, basically. And if that happens to us anyway, the spider will close once it can't find any more jobs. So this is more just in case we get to some page that says 0 jobs remaining, or we're not able to find any more jobs and there's no more LIs on the page. So this is just kind of a safety net anyway, because it should close by itself once it sees that 400 error coming back, if it gets to a point where LinkedIn just doesn't give back any more jobs. But if there's still more jobs on the page, we get the next 25, we have the URL updated with the starting number, and then we again use just scrapy.request, and it's all the same as we have above. This parse jobs, it's going to call itself. So it's going to keep going until it either gets a 400 error or there's 0 jobs returned. So that should be everything we need. We should be able to now try and run our spider and see what the results are that come back. Okay, so we can just do a Scrapy list again. That gives us the name of the spider, LinkedIn jobs, Scrapy crawl, and I'm just going to copy and paste because I'm lazy. LinkedIn jobs. Okay, sometimes we get a module not found error. We can just deactivate our virtual environment and go back up a level, and then reactivate source, reactivate the virtual environment. Okay, and now we want to go back into our basic Scrapy project and try run that again. Okay, something's happening, and we can see there are some jobs coming back. So I'll just close down the spider and we'll output the data into a file now. I'm just going to call it jobs.json. So you can have this as CSV, and then you can open an Excel if you need to, but for this I find JSON is the easiest to read from when you're doing an example like this. So you can see it's created the jobs.json file, and if I open that up, boom, we have the job title, the job detail, URL with all the full details on it, when the job was listed, so 1 day ago, 9 hours ago, the company name, the link to the company, and the company location. So Texas, United States, or New York, whatever. So we have all the data that we asked for. And as you can see, there's hundreds of jobs there already after coming back. So I'm just going to close this now. Okay, yeah, closing spider, perfect. Okay, so I think that's everything I wanted to show you guys. It's quite simple, but if you guys get stuck on any part of this tutorial, please let us know, leave us a comment. If you guys want us to do any other types of tutorials, also please let us know. And if you've liked everything you've seen here, please like and subscribe. And we will also have the accompanying article and all the links you need in the description. So I would check out the description as well. Okay guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.